Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Talking Money with Pete. In these videos we go through and talk about general financial concepts, and I use a lot of pictures and analogies to go through and explain those concepts. Today we're going to be going through and talking about debt, more importantly how to go through and get rid of it, and the two main common concepts, which is the avalanche theory and the snowball theory. We'll talk about the pros and cons of each of them. So let's go through and get stuck in. So today we're going to be going through and talking about debt, or more importantly, effective ways of how to go through and pay it down. Now the two main ways we're going to be going through and talking about is the snowball and avalanche. So we'll go through and we'll have a bit of a deep dive first into snowball and really get stuck into the pros and cons of it. So the key is in the name. Snowball is basically, in my example here, we've got three different debts. So we've got a small debt, a big debt, and a middle debt and a big debt. So irrespective of interest rates and all those other bits and pieces, the snowball basically takes the approach of let's try and go through and take one bite at a time. One of the real big common problems with people when they go through and pay off and look at all the debt that they've got to go through and pay off is they get overwhelmed. So a really good analogy I like to go through and use is how do we eat an elephant? The answer is one mouthful at a time. And so rather than going through and saying, oh, we've got this really big debt, so in this case, maybe a mortgage of 300 grand, how do we go through and surmount that? How do we get over the top of that? And the answer is one mouthful at a time. So the snowball theory basically says, okay, all three of these are going through and taking money out of our pocket every week, fortnight, month. So what do? We focus on the smallest one and we try and clear that debt first. Once that debt's cleared, we take so we focus all of our extra money. We pay minimum payments on all of them and pay everything we can off this one. Once the smallest debt's gone, we take all our extra money plus the money that we were previously putting into that, and then we move it into the next one. And once that one's went through and paid off, then we move it into the next one. And so every time you go through and pay off a debt like that, and you pay it out, humans, we get this dopamine hit, you get this sense of accomplishment, therefore you're more likely to go through and keep going through and paying down the debt. So generally speaking, it works. People are more likely, there's a few studies that have been shown, people are more likely to actually go through and stick to it because they get that sense of accomplishment. It slowly builds to something. Whereas when we go through and we talk about the other way, it's a little bit of the reverse side of the story. So avalanche, key is also in the name, is regardless of the size of the debt, we go through and we pay out whichever one has the highest interest rate. So in this case, pretty much going to be going through and working in reverse. If this represents our highest interest rate, the medium interest rate, and the lowest interest rate, we go through and we pay off the one with the highest interest rate first. Might be a credit card or something like that. The middle one might be a personal loan, and the third one might be a mortgage. And so we go through and we focus all our attention here, and that's going to save us the most amount of money in interest. So generally speaking, if you've got the discipline and you've got the structure set up to actually stick to this method, once we've saved ourselves this interest, then we go through and move on to the next one. And once we've paid that one off, then we move to the lowest interest. Therefore, going through and saving ourselves the most amount of interest. So when we're going through and putting all of our surplus money into saving the highest amount of interest, the catch is this may be quite a large amount of money. And in today's day and age, where that may take a few years and you feel like you're not really getting anywhere, rather than just going through and clearing this one, which we might be able to do in a matter of weeks or months, this one may take years. And so human emotions come into it, and we might give up halfway through because we feel like we really haven't got anywhere. So this one, most people agree, saves the most amount of money in interest, therefore works out better overall in debt reduction. However, generally speaking, there are lots of people that get into debt through no fault of their own and lots of different circumstances. I'm not going to go through and throw light on that. However, most of the time with debt, it's not a mathematical problem. It's an emotional problem or a human problem. So rather than going through and taking a mathematical solution to it, that's why a lot of people favor the snowball approach, because it goes through and responds to human emotion and human chemicals like dopamine, getting those small little bite-sized chunks of success along the way. So people are more likely to actually go through and stick to it. However, if you've got the discipline, the structure, and you're actually going to go through and do it, then the avalanche can be a better way, and if you go through and you complete both of them, the avalanche can actually be a better way overall to get to it. And if you go through and you Google it or you YouTube it, there'll be lots of other ways to go through. Everyone's got their own ideas on it. I'm a big fan of the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid, or keep it super simple. And so when we go through and we look at two of the most common ways of paying off debt, we either look at the snowball, which is paying off, just to recap, the smallest one first in terms of size of the debt to pay off, or the avalanche, which is look at the highest interest rate to pay off and then work your way down. They both have their own pros and cons to them, so it's just about going through and figuring out which one works best for you and maybe possibly talking with a professional about it. Hey guys, hope you found that video interesting and that you actually got something out of it. Feel free to like or comment anything that you want to on the video below. We've got a fantastic team that can go through and help you out with some of this debt reduction kind of stuff. Otherwise, we'll be making more videos in the future, and see you around.